crying, and there just was so perfect. All right. So we're here um, live on YouTube with Robert. Very nice to have you here with us. And I'm turning this mic over to you.
Are we live? Okay.
Yep,
Good
we're live.
morning. For those of you that are fans of Monty Python, he had a great line that he used as a running gag, and it was called, "And now for something completely different." Well, today's Robert's Ramblings is going to be very different than anything we've ever done. And because I'm not going to talk that much, I am losing my voice faster and faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Cherie. And this morning, on our drive back from the funeral, my wife and I found ourselves going in the wrong direction. And on so many levels. This started a not so great conversation that proved to be a wonderful lesson. So if I trust that I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do is true for me, then I have to trust it's also true for her. So to let her tell the story before I pass out and die, I'm going to let her tell the story in her own words. I may coach her a little, but I'm going to change chairs here. So bear with me for a minute.
Hello, all. What? I have to start by saying that
I got to share it. Oh, no, I don't. Never mind. Later. Sorry.
you sure? Positive? All right. I have to start by saying that typically Bob does not drive much. And so I don't mind driving, and I've done more driving in Southern California in my life than he has. And probably have a little more background with the freeways and other fun things in Southern California, trying to get back and forth. Yesterday, when we left the house, we figured about an hour and a half to drive from Temecula to Laguna Beach, being able to use the toll roads to get there. And it was very, very foggy, which made it interesting on a Sunday morning. But we got very short distance when everything just came to an almost complete halt. And we spent another 45 minutes to an hour at about 4 miles an hour until we finally got on the 91 freeway. And from there, we're able to get on the toll roads and eventually to Laguna, where the funeral was. By the time we got there, Bob was so exhausted and so unhappy from being in traffic and continually asking, wouldn't you like to get in the other lane? Wouldn't you like to move to a different location? Wouldn't you like to go a little faster? You can kind of get the picture. So in the end, he did not go to the funeral, and I went by myself, and that was fine. This morning, we packed up to come home fairly early, about 6:30, and we get on Laguna Canyon Road and are heading for a toll road. And I got on the toll road, and we were talking about how the memorial service had gone the night before. And all of a sudden, Bob says, "You're going the wrong way." And I said, "No, I'm on the toll road." "No, you're going the wrong way." And I said, "Well, I'm looking at the guide here, the little screen that shows me where I should be going." But the sound was turned off, so I was not listening to her giving me directions in addition to watching what I was doing. At any rate, as we proceeded on this particular toll road, we did in fact find ourselves having missed one of the turns that we should have made. And Bob, being very helpful, started in on various things that I had done wrong, beginning with not paying attention to what was going on the screen, not paying attention to what he was sharing with me as directions. And I was getting a little bit upset. And finally, I turned the sound back on the what is it called? The GPS. And with that, I could see what was going to happen. And I said, all right, we are going towards where we need to go, towards the 91. And I'm just going to follow the directions that the GPS is giving me and try to ignore what Bob was either saying or not saying in the car. A car is a very small place to be sitting when two people are not agreeing on things. And we went on some distance until we had gotten off of the toll road, but we could see that we were in fact going in a roundabout way to get to the 91 freeway, which we needed to get home. And throughout all of this, again, I'm dealing with not just traffic, but also fog. And the sun is glaring in my eyes. So it's a little difficult to see and to pay attention to what I'm doing. But I still felt this really unhappiness sitting next to me in the car. And again, there's not any other place to go. And I just decided I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say that I knew that I would find our way home. But eventually I hear a noise from the other seat. And Bob said, "Well, it looks like maybe we're going in the right direction after all. We've just gone in a little bit different way." And I said, "Okay, you're right. And you think we might get home today?" And he said, "Well, maybe it was a good lesson that sometimes you have to make a mistake to be able to see that there's more than one way to do something. And maybe I need to let my ego get out of the way." And I didn't say anything. It was not my place to say anything at that point. But as we continued to drive home, I commented, I said, "Look, we're going to get home faster than we would have if we'd taken the toll roads. And traffic is moving nicely in our way. And we actually made it home in an hour and 20 minutes. And it had taken us over 2.5 hours to get to Laguna yesterday." So at any rate, Bob has then been filled with other questions of, do I understand what all transpired? And I said, well, yes, to the extent that you don't always have everything correct. And particularly when I'm driving, that you tend to make it very vocal that you know better than I do. And I've just decided to stay out of it. because for me, that's how I maintain peace in my own self. And I, I think that for him, it it shook him up some. And I think that's why he asked me to talk instead of him for now. Um, any comments anyone else would like to share?
Yeah, this is just so beautiful, the both of yous, that you're willing uh, to look at this, to work through it, to be open-minded about it. I mean, these are the kind of things that two people in a car, that is the uh, the basis for a lot of uh a lot of potential grievance and a lot of potential upset. Um, and you know, it's so hard when you think to let go and recognize that maybe somebody else knows better. Because, especially uh if you're the one who's not driving, and
Mhm.
so you're kind of at the mercy of the one who is driving. Um, I don't know. It sounds like you guys handled it pretty well, but that you can be open-minded, that you don't hold it against each other, that you're not, sitting here saying, well, he was dumb and I was not, and I was smart or whatever. uh, because honestly, we're all guiding each other home. We're all just trying to get home together. So, whether we take the toll road or the freeway or the by road or whatever, uh, it's still it's still the same thing. We have to be walking each other home. And it's better when we're, singing along with each other, but crank on the radio and sing a song. Anyway, I see Wayne has his hand up too. I'll let that go.
Wayne?
Yeah, I was just saying I had a similar car experience. I mean, where I got lost. I used to sell furniture on the road out in New Jersey, and I got lost often out there. And whenever I got lost, sometimes I got lost to this deep. Like, I knew I was lost. I see strawberry farms and the sort of thing. I was like, oh no, I'm way lost. I used to sell furniture out of the catalog. I used to go into different small mom and pop shops and try to get them to let me send them furniture for the floors. And yeah, so what I realized that the only way I can get back was just start driving. I didn't know where I was. So I said, I'm just gonna drive straight. I'm gonna keep on driving. I say, God, hook me up. Hook me up. I'm gonna go straight, and I want you to hook me up. I don't know where I'm going, but I assume I'm. This is Jersey, it's not L.A. And I'm assume I'm gonna run into this. I'll eventually run into a big highway, and I'll be able to see a sign or two. Because I'm not where I am now. And eventually, that's always happened. I would say some was 40 minutes, some was 30 minutes, some was 55 minutes, some was an hour. But eventually, I got back to where and all I did was go straight, and it was straight, straight. And so similar to what you were saying, is that I got home. So
Hmm.
sometimes, some of them, it's going to be half hour, 20 minutes. I got to the highway. And once I got to the highway, I was fine. Because I knew highways, I can get highways, signs everywhere. That was fine. It was getting to a place where I can see the signs to get home. And I always got there. It was just, but it always took a little while before I can get rid of the anxiety and the panic. I had to make sure I had enough gas in the car, and I'm about 5, 6 o'clock for dinner. A lot of things I wanted to get done. Oh, sure, I know where I am. And I was a new driver. And sounds crazy, but I grew up in New York City. I didn't drive till I was 25. So all this stuff was playing in my head. So how do I'm gonna drive straight. I'm gonna just drive straight, man, and let God take over. That's what I did, and every time it worked.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm just
Bob?
You're on the
No, I've said enough, I
you're,
think.
you're
I guess the only
Other than,
question is, how do you feel? How do you feel?
Um, while I was driving, not real great. I was upset. Partly because he did not trust me. And trust is a big issue. But at the same time, as we got closer to home and as he began to see that it was not going to take us an extra hour, to get home, he began to calm down and he admitted that he had let his ego take over and that is what started his whole reaction. And by the time we got home, we had breakfast and talked more and he asked me a couple of other questions. And one of them is, how did I feel about not being trusted? And I said, well, let me think about that for a minute. And I said, I'm sorry if someone else does not trust me, but that is their problem, not mine. And I said, I am comfortable with the decisions that I make, and I am willing to take responsibility for those. And as a result, I do not feel that it is something that should be held against me.
and as you can see, you can understand why I believe that she is one of my greatest teachers. And I hope that I never forget that. It was a wonderful lesson for me. Actually, it was funny, a good lesson for both of us. That we need to learn. I need to, like, I'm not going to speak for her. I need to learn that I'm not the one that needs to be trusted. The one I trust needs to be trusted. So, I think that kind of sums up what was a really beautiful morning, although it didn't start out that way. I'm beginning to learn there are times for me to talk, and there are times for me to keep my mouth shut. Trust me, that's the harder lesson. Especially when I let my ego run crazy and say, oh my God, here's another great essay. Well, bullshit. It's not another great essay. It's another great lesson for me to learn. So I'm going to take a break from talking. And I did work on one thing that seems to be appropriate for this particular morning. And we've got plenty of time. So I'm going to share an essay that I worked on as a result of this conversation this morning. Okay, and of course, you'll see I had a lot of help, but it really says a lot about, and the title of it, as you can see, is "Thy Will Be Done." So I'm going to play that for you now, and then maybe we can all come back together and talk about it some more. So let me see, I'm going to share. I'm going to get this right the first time today. I'm going to I don't have to share sound. And share screen 1. And play the essay. And I invite Sharon, do you want to read this if you have time?
I'm in school, so I don't know. Let me just see
Oh,
what
no,
it
you
is.
can't. You can't. Okay, never mind. I'm going to have
Well, here's
Teresa.
the thing. Wait, I can
Okay,
read. How long do you think it is, Bob?
it's long. You may have to quit, but quit when you have
Yeah.
to. Yeah, okay. Let me get it going here. It's taken from the Lord's Prayer, and I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. I say the Lord's Prayer and other sources. So here we go. Go ahead. Are you seeing it, Sharon? Oh, Sharon. Okay, I seem to have lost Sharon. Lynn, do you want to try?
Sure. Yeah, I'll read.
Okay,
I
until
guess,
Sharon gets back.
okay, yeah, I guess Rafi's gone. Most of our readers. Okay, so thy will be done. A study.
Wait, Lynn is going to do it.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
no, you go ahead and do it. We were waiting for you.
we were waiting for
Oh, I
you.
had a call. Okay. Well, we both could do it. Well, okay. The prayer and its purpose. When Jesus introduced what we call the Lord's Prayer, it was not a formula for public recital. It was an interposition, a sacred stance of consciousness that unites thought with divine reality. His disciples had asked, Lord, teach us to pray. His response recorded in Matthew 6. See, I'm on my phone and it's like, it's, it's harder on the phone. Okay, I don't know where, all right. And
You
with the,
want me,
I can't,
Sharon, do you want me to let Lynn read it?
yeah, because I'll be on my computer tonight. You're going to be okay tonight?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let Lynn read it and I can
Okay,
listen.
Lynn, thank you. Did we lose Lynn?
And I'm muted. So when Jesus
Yeah, thank
introduced
you.
what we now call the Lord's Prayer, it was not a formula for public recital. It was an interposition, a sacred stance of consciousness that unites thought with divine reality. His disciples had asked, Lord, teach us how to pray. His response, recorded in Matthew 6, is preceded by instructions that reveal his true intent. He warned them against public display and empty repetition, emphasizing sincerity and inner communion over ritual. Can you raise it up a little bit? Okay, the Gospel of Matthew from the King James Version. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut the door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before you ask him. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. That's from Matthew from the King James Bible. The key phrase, after this manner, therefore pray ye, shows clearly that Jesus was not prescribing words to memorize, but a pattern of thought to adopt. After this manner means it in this way, not say exactly this. He was describing the attitude of prayer, reverence, trust, forgiveness, alignment, and peace. The structure of consciousness. Each phase of the prayer is a doorway to a state of consciousness rather than a sentence to repeat. Our Father, which art in heaven, recognition of shared divine origin. Hallowed be thy name, reverence for the sacred nature of all being. Thy kingdom come, awareness that divine order is now present. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven, the surrender of illusion to divine harmony. Give us this day our daily bread. Trust in the sufficiency of every present moment. Forgive us our debts, the release of guilt and judgment. Lead us not into temptation, confidence that love never leads us into error. Deliver us from evil, the realization that nothing real can be threatened. The prayer moves from the recognition of God to the realization of unity. It begins in heaven, the awareness of perfection, and ends with peace and gratitude. Mary Baker Eddy's spiritual interpretation. In Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, Mary Baker Eddy offered a metaphysical translation of the Lord's Prayer. She presented it not as a replacement, but as a revelation of its inner meaning. The Lord's Prayer with its spiritual interpretation from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. Our Father, which art in heaven, interpreted as Our Father, Mother God, all harmonious. Hallowed be thy name, adorable one. Thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom is come. Thou art ever present. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. And her interpretation, enable us to know, as in heaven, so on earth. God is omnipotent, supreme. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us grace for today. Feed the famished affections. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And love is reflected in love. And we forgive as we would be forgiven. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. For God is infinite, all powerful, all life, truth, love over all and all. Eddy's interpretation turns the prayer from petition to realization. She removes the future tense entirely. No longer thy kingdom come, but thy kingdom is come. No longer thy will be done, but enable us to know God is omnipotent, supreme. Here prayer becomes alignment, not asking. To pray this way is to see rightly, to accept the eternal presence of divine harmony rather than hoping for its arrival. The Course's version of the prayer. The Course in Miracles also offers its own rendering of the Lord's Prayer. In text, chapter 3, section 5, the message of the crucifixion, and in the manual for teachers, 29, 2-5. The Course reinterprets the prayer to reflect its central teaching that separation never occurred and that God's will is happiness, not suffering. The Lord's Prayer from the Course in Miracles. And of course, this was Bill Thetford's idea that this was like the Lord's Prayer. So Jesus didn't say this, but Bill, they saw it as that same thing. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions, and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, For the temptation of the Son of God is not your will, and let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this unto the minds which you created and which you love. Amen. This rendering eliminates all anthropomorphic language and places the entire act of prayer within the mind. It replaces the concept of debts with illusions and of earthly bread with spiritual sustenance. The purpose is not to change God's mind, but to change ours. In another section, the course summarizes the whole prayer in a single thought. God's will for you is perfect happiness, from lesson 101. Here, the will of God is not a distant decree, but a living state of joy. The course equates God's will with peace and reminds us that any suffering we perceive is a misunderstanding, a projection of our belief in separation. From words to awareness. What then does it mean to pray, thy will be done? If we take the words literally, we risk turning them into resignation. I'll endure whatever happens because it must be God's will. But if we understand Jesus's intention, it becomes an affirmation. Let me remember that divine harmony already governs my life, and that only love is real. Mary Baker Eddy saw this as the consciousness of omnipotence. Enable us to know, as in heaven and so on earth, God is omnipotent, supreme. A Course in Miracles refines it further. Let us receive only what you have given. Both are expressions of the same truth. God's will is not imposed upon us. It is expressed through us. The resistance to divine will. Why then do we resist? Because we confuse divine will with human outcomes. We think that God's will means losing control, losing pleasure, losing individuality. The ego fears dissolution. It insists, my will be done. But what the ego calls my will is only the sum of desires rooted in fear. The will to judge, to separate, to defend, to surrender what is not death but freedom. To surrender that is not death but freedom. The Course explains, you may think you want peace, but you are unwilling to accept the conditions necessary to have it. Those conditions are simply acceptance and trust. Trust the divine will is benevolent and unopposed. Eddy echoes this when she writes, desire is prayer, and no loss can occur from trusting God with our desires, that they may be molded and exalted before they take form in words and in deeds. True prayer, then, is letting love reshape perception until we see that every apparent conflict was only a call for correction, a call for love. Beyond guessing. Our human guess at God's will is shaped by perception. We interpret events through fear and preference, calling good what pleases us and evil what does not. Yet divine will is independent of both. It is constant good, not circumstantial, not personal, but absolute. Mortal mind sees that it believes as certainly as it believes what it sees. Eddy observed. The mortal mind sees what it believes as certainly as it believes what it sees. I love that. Projection makes perception, the Course adds. When we project guilt or fear onto the world, we see chaos and assume it is God's punishment. When we project love, we see harmony and recognize it as God's presence. God's will never changes. Only our perception does. Living thy will be done. To live from this consciousness is to stop fighting reality. It is not passivity, but alignment. It asks each moment, what would love have me do now? Sometimes love calls for stillness, sometimes for action, but it never calls for fear. Jesus modeled this perfectly in Gethsemane. Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And again, I do not believe Jesus actually said that, but it's a lovely thought anyway. Because that would be silly. Jesus would know better. But anyway, and Luke was sleeping, so how would he know? He did not plead for suffering. He released all personal resistance to love's unfolding. His peace arose from trust in divine order beyond the appearance of pain.
Let me jump in here for a minute.
Yes, sure.
I agree with you because we look at what happened on the cross and we think of it as this horrible, painful thing. And yet, if we understand the course that says the guiltless mind cannot suffer, it's as though he was there. Oh, isn't that interesting? As they're nailing him to the cross. Because I don't believe that he necessarily felt the pain, but he understood that he needed to go through the imagery. Does that
Yes,
make sense?
yes, yes,
Okay.
because it was the body was an image anyway. The body at that point was just a projection that
Right,
he was very well aware of. So it'd be just like putting a nail through the air into the
right,
air. It didn't even actually exist at that moment. So
right. Thank you. And
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is a point I would like to have made. Now, you continue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we get so confused about uh, reality when we think that Jesus thought that the body was real. So, he's very clear that he knew better. So,
But he wasn't, but at that time, he could not have told anybody that.
no, no. The only way he could demonstrate it was to reproduce the body 3 days later to walk around with them. And it wasn't even 3 days. Well, I don't know why we even say that because it was Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday morning he was up moving around. That's not 3 days on anybody's calendar. So,
Well, if you consider Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's over a time of 3 days. But it's either here. Keep going.
okay. All right. So he did not plead for suffering, but released all personal resistance to love's unfolding. His peace arose from trust in divine order beyond the appearance of pain. The fulfillment of the prayer. When understood rightly, thy will be done becomes the joyous declaration that love's will is already complete. We are not asking for change, but recognizing the changeless. The Course in Miracles concludes the thought, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Let me remember that nothing God created can suffer or die. And Eddie affirms, for God is infinite, all power, all life, truth, love, over all and all. These are not competing doctrines, but complementary revelations, each moving us closer to the same awakening. That divine will is not a command from above, but a song of love within. When understanding dawns, when that understanding dawns, the prayer ceases to be a recitation and becomes realization. It is no longer spoken to God, but as God's creation, the echo of divine mind remembering itself. I need a drink here. Final reflection. The Lord's Prayer was never meant to be a test of memory. It is an invitation to remember God. When we recite it consciously, every phrase lifts thought above the illusion of separation. Thy will be done becomes not resignation, but rejoicing, the assurance that all is well because all is love. As A Course in Miracles teaches, there is no will but God's, and I cannot be in conflict. And as Jesus declared in spirit long before these words were written down, the kingdom of God is within you. To live that truth is to awaken from guessing to knowing, from fear to perfect happiness.
Thank you, Lynn.
So thank you, Bob. And my voice is going too. So I'm like, I
Well,
gotta.
let's see if anybody else has anything to offer.
Hey, so we started the whole thing, the three of us.
Yeah. That's funny.
And that was great, Bob. It was just, it was fantastic. And thanks for bringing everybody ready into the fall. I like it. I'm very familiar with her teachings, and it was nice to bring her in. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I suppose we probably have, yeah, I'm gonna bring up the share again, and I'm gonna scroll down and see if I can find another essay that maybe Sheree can share, and I'll let you pick one if you want to, Sheree. Let me get rid of this and bring up the list. I'm going to jump down to some of the later ones. See if there's anything down here.
What me worry?
Oh, you want to do Alfred E. Newman? Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me get it. I wrote this tongue in cheek, but it's really a good lesson. Let me get it bigger and centered. Okay. This is going to be good for fans of Alfred E. Newman and Mad Magazine.
What me worry? The Gospel according to Alfred E. Newman. There's an unexpected spiritual teacher hiding behind that gap-toothed grin. Alfred E. Newman, the eternal mascot of Mad Magazine, spent decades asking a question that points directly to enlightenment. What? Me worry? On the surface, it's satire, a shrug in the face of chaos. But from the lens of A Course in Miracles, it's pure wisdom. He embodies the peace that comes from knowing nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. That's the Course's opening statement, and it might as well be Alfred's motto. Worry comes from believing that unreal is real, that something outside us has the power to harm or define us. Alfred's carefree expression mocks the very idea that the world could take away his peace. In that sense, he's not a fool. He's a saint disguised as a cartoon. The Course reminds us, you are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. Worry is part of that dream of exile. It's the ego's way of convincing us that we're separate, vulnerable, and responsible for managing a world that's falling apart. Yet, to the Holy Spirit, all our worries are the same, illusions of loss. Alfred's grin says, I'm not buying it. The Course says, when I'm healed, I am not healed alone. When one person refuses to join the world's panic, he quietly invites others to peace. Alfred's perpetual calm, even in the absurdity of Mad's satire, becomes a gentle mirror. It shows that fear is optional and that laughter can be a doorway to forgiveness. Laughter sheds light on darkness and brings it to truth. Alfred's humor comes from seeing the insanity of the world without judging it. The Course teaches the Holy Spirit's perception leaves no confusion about means and end. Worry is confusion. It's an attempt to control the means, forgetting the end is peace. When Alfred shrugs, he's choosing the Holy Spirit's perception over the ego's alarm. He's saying, why worry about illusions? We might imagine him paraphrasing the Course. I could see peace instead of this. He doesn't deny the chaos. He simply doesn't give it power. His unbothered attitude reflects the Course's call to remember that peace is of God. You who are part of God are not at home, except in his peace. That's why Alfred never ages. He never grows weary, never bitter. He lives beyond time because he never took the world seriously. The Course invites us to do the same. The world you see is an illusion of a world. God did not create it, for what he creates must be eternal as himself.
Sorry.
In that sense, Alfred is our teacher in comic form. He laughs at the ego's seriousness. He refuses to invest in illusions. His simplicity captures what the Course calls the tiny mad idea, that we could ever be separate from God. Alfred's grin says, so what if the world's gone mad? It was never real anyway. Perhaps that's why A Course in Miracles tells us, into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Alfred remembered to laugh. His joke, his whole existence, is the correction of that forgotten laughter. When we can laugh with him, not at the world, but at our mistaken belief in it, we join him in peace. So the next time your mind starts spinning stories of loss, deadlines, or disasters, remember that gap-toothed grin and those three simple words. What? Me worry? Because in truth, nothing real is at risk. And that's not just humor, it's holiness. Any comments?
I guess we're done for today.
Yeah, I just love this. That was beautiful. And of course, I remember Alfred E. Newman and What Me Worry. That's been kind of my watchword through my life.
Would you believe I started reading that magazine when I was 13?
Yeah,
That's
I
how
believe
long
it.
it's been around.
I read it my whole life since I was a
Yeah.
little kid. That was what my allowance would go for as a Mad
Yeah.
magazine.
My favorites, man. Oh, man.
And back in those days, an allowance was a very different thing than today's expectation. What did it cost to get in a movie then?
25 cents.
25 cents, yeah.
Me, the cheapest was about $5 it cost when I was younger. Well, I was
Wow.
also in New York City. New York City was always more expensive.
I'm giving my age away.
Yeah. We used to have where we lived, if you bought, if you got milk from the local dairy, every day you got a quart of milk, you got these milk tops, and you would use those. If you had 7 milk tops, you could get into the movies for free on Saturday morning. So
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
that was back in Leadville, Colorado.
And Leadville?
Yeah,
Well, no, I grew up in the New York metropolitan area, so my world was very different from yours.
yeah, absolutely.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from New York, New York City.
Oh, you too. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was up north, Westchester County.
Oh, yeah, so you close by, Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
it
got
was a
me.
little different for us. Well, this was fun. As you can see, it was an interesting ride home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
exactly. And
was.
thank you, Cherie, for sharing. I appreciate
Yeah,
you
Oh,
so
yeah.
definitely.
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
To both of you.
So I guess I'll see everybody again.
tonight.
Back again at 4 o'clock
Yeah,
my time, 7 New York time.
yep. And
And I'm
before we
done.
go,
So
Cherie, where are you from?
Actually Southern California, but I've lived all over
Nice.
the place.
I didn't hear.
Southern California.
I'm sorry. I said I was born in Southern California, but I've lived in Salt Lake City, Utah, Southern Illinois, Portland, Oregon, in the Mount Hood, Oregon, Switzerland, Japan, all over the place. So,
Wow.
Is there a
That's
reason why you like traveling?
well, my father was traveling quite a bit when we were younger. He was working on getting his master's degree and then his doctorate in school. And then later, just life.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I spent the last 30 years of my working driving all over the United States. And it was interesting. I worked with the American Youth Soccer Organization, and was important for us to start new programs all over the country. And it was interesting traveling alone in a car, driving as a woman at that time. People at gas stations would look at me and said, "Did you really drive all the way here from California?" I said, "No, I actually flew to a bigger city and then got a car and drove from there." But at the end of that time, I had visited every single state in the United States, many of them frequently. And my two favorite are still Hawaii and Alaska.
My wife's in Hawaii right now.
All right, it's a beautiful place.
She's coming back tomorrow morning. Well, she's been there for 8 days now with my she's family out there.
Which, Wayne, which island?
Not. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know it's not Honolulu. So she's somewhere at an Airbnb in some place. I'm not even sure.
That's Oahu. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but
I
she's-
was lucky to live there for about 3 years, and it was a wonderful time. My husband at that time and I both worked, but we felt like we were living in paradise,
Yeah.
and truly enjoyed it.
That's great. That's
So,
great.
That's wonderful.
Well,
Well,
thank you everybody for being there. And
see y'all tonight.
you want to do the closing?
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thanks everyone.
Love you
Glenn, can
guys.
you do the closing? Bob was coughing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna thank you all so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you guys tonight for Sharon and Bob reading more of Bob's essays. So thank you so much. Love you all, and we'll see you tonight. Bye.
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 Bye.